First, on the onset, I'd like to state that I voted to abstain on House Bill 6875. And I want to place in the record my support for the Duterte administration in its fight against terrorism. My vote for martial law in Mindanao, when I voted yes, speaks for that case. My vote for the extension of martial law, when I voted yes, also speaks for that case. However, when it comes to the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, House Bill 6875, I felt compelled to have vote in abstention. And the reason being, foremost, one, we were not allowed to ask any questions. I simply want to be cleared or, answered. I want that there were some clarificatory questions that I wanted answered so I can understand how important House Bill 6875 is for our country. First, I wanted to know, what's the status now? We just went through how many years of martial law? And I have reports from the Regional Peace and Order Council, Provincial Peace and Order Council, that in the Lanao region, we have eradicated the terrorists. So what's the status now? Why is it so urgent that we have an anti-terrorism law? Akala ko tapos na tayo dito. I could not ask that question in the plenary. Secondly, I wanted to know what is the purpose and why is it so urgent to have an anti-terrorism law? When we discussed the extension of martial law for Mindanao, I asked Secretary Lorenzana that in Mindanao, we benefit from the suspension of writ of habeas corpus. But what about in Luzon and in Visayas? We have more than 80 terrorists at large. How are you going to capture them without the suspension of the writ of habeas corpus? Ang sagot ni Secretary Lorenzana is, those terrorists have been filed cases and have standing arrest warrants. If we're able to do it that way, why do we need House Bill 6875 when we have the capability and the manpower and the ability to file cases, terrorists that are at large? I wanted that answered in the plenary so I can at least have a clean conscience in voting and supporting House Bill 675. Now, my third question that I wanted answered, Mr. Speaker, was the practicability of this anti-terror bill. Because the real meat of this is to detain terrorists. But all you have to do is look at the top 2 terrorists that were at large in Mindanao. One is Nilion Apilon. 2, Marwan. Never did it end in detention of those terrorists. As soon as SAF went into Maguindanao to try and capture Marwan, it ended in a firefight. When the AFP heard that Isnilon Hapilon is there in Marawi City, they were ambushed. And we ended up with the Marawi siege. There is no practicability of serving an arrest warrant or trying to capture high-profile terrorists, real terrorists. What we really need in Mindanao are more police and more armed forces so that we can properly secure our region. These are questions that I wanted answered, but we weren't allowed to ask clarificatory questions, so I could not, in good conscience, vote yes for House Bill 6875. And last but not least, Mr. Speaker, I would like to place on the record that my real contention with this bill, where I feel uneasy, is the issue of warrantless arrests. And I feel that it's unfair that for us in the House of Representatives, we were not allowed to amend Section 29. We were accused, several Congresses, 16, 17 Congress, of being a rubber stamp of Malacanang. If we act this way and we are not allowed to amend Senate bills, we might be accused of being the rubber stamp of the Senate. I believe that we could have come up with a better version, and how I wish we could have amended Section 29, Mr. Speaker. These are the reasons why I vote in abstention. And I wanted to place it on record so the administration will know the reason of my vote and why I could not support House Bill 675. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.